Hi, team. Robert. I host the podcast New Problems. I wanted to make this very quick video. Honestly, I want to make this quick video because I just bought a new microphone and I just need to test this out. I need to test how this is sounding in my head. I want to see how it sounds when I speak at this voice. Back up. I'm checking to see if I'm clipping in the mixer. I need to keep talking. I need to see that this isn't going to cut out when I talk for a sustained amount of time. So thank you for being a part of me troubleshooting my own shit. Anyway, how do I make the podcast New Problems? If you've never listened to this podcast, this would not be an ideal episode to start with, but New Problems, 20 episodes in, is a storytelling podcast. It means I am really leaning into two distinct skill sets. One is writing, one is speaking into a microphone. That is the challenge I'm presenting to myself. Every week I make an episode of New Problems. How do I write effectively? How do I communicate that writing into a microphone, which is paid for? Thank you, Father, for this microphone. It looks terrible in the shot, so I'm going to put it right now. How do I make the podcast New Problems? The fundamental challenge 3 months into doing this is that the content is not a reaction to culture. This is not last week tonight. This is not The Daily Show. This is not The Daily. Nothing happening in the world makes this easier for me. I am thinking about my life and therefore interpreting what's happening in my life in a way that hopefully can feel like it has longevity. I never want an episode that I do to be obsolete in a week, because this takes way too much time. And that's the trade-off. If everything was just me looking up the headlines, going on TMZ, going on Twitter, looking at the trending topics, and just reacting to them, I'd probably be a happier person because it would be easier, it'd be more fun, it'd be more relevant, people could connect to it. This is really taking half of a seed and saying, how do I make this work for 30 minutes? Yeah, it's a lot. It's an issue. But I will say there's a lot of joy in doing the writing, and there's a lot of, it really is like flipping 1,000-piece puzzle pieces over on a table, and you flip them just to make sure you can see all the color side. And then you start to piece it together and you get the structure. And I think that metaphor makes a lot of sense. That's exactly what my experience is. It's putting together a 1,000-piece puzzle every week. And you're actually not sure what the puzzle is on the box. You just have to kind of get the semblance that this is going to come into something, and you got to commit to it. And so it's a whole act of faith. Yeah. So how do I do the podcast New Problems? If I had to sum it up, the most fundamental thing I try to remind myself is, Robert, the thing that you are thinking about is the thing you want to talk about. I'm going to say that again. The thing I want to think about is the thing I want to talk about, because when I am thinking about something, that means it's locking into a part of my personality, my soul, or I would say my stomach, my gut, like what's actually happening in my life that I'm thinking about. So I don't think about as much, what do I think people want to hear? I don't think about as much, this is what I'd want my future bosses to hear. I don't think about, I think this would even be a good story that I could tell well. It's, Robert, what are you caring about enough that you have actually given yourself an outlet to express and talk about. That's awesome. So once I have actually identified, Robert, this is the thing that you are been thinking about the last 5 days. Okay, that's the thing I'm going to talk about. I don't care. If I've been thinking about making cupcakes, I need to make an episode about cupcakes. If I've been thinking about why is there so much added sugar in kombucha that's sold in grocery stores, and if I've been thinking that day after day after day, okay, then go with that. You've already decided. The gut decides for you what the episode's going to be. Okay, that's important. Um, and thankfully, I am a pretty introspective person, and so my thoughts are so interesting and deep. That's a huge part. So the thing I think about, that's the thing that's going to go with. Okay, number 2. Writing is a reaction to faith and discipline. We have discussed the faith part. I have said, this is what I was thinking about. I have to trust that somewhere in that seed is a coherent, entertaining story. The discipline means I just need to write it out. Yeah, and that's what I do. So and I promise you, there's this idea like in media that certain people can do like live radio or like a live broadcast and they're a one take person. Like, count me down, roll the cameras, I'm just gonna crush it for you. Writing doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. No. I have to have the faith that this will suck. And I will not be bothered by the suctitude. And I think before I even had an idea of doing this podcast, I really do want to thank God for so many reasons. But I do want to thank God for one thing is at the beginning of the pandemic, I was up at like 7 a.m. writing every day. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. I was listening to ambient electronic music. I've got the coffee. I'm like leaning into the fantasy of I am like going to be that quarantine writer. And I think by like a month or two, I had accumulated 80,000 words. I'm doing like the conversions, like how many pages is in a full-length book? And if I just do that one more time, I've written a book. Which would be amazing. I mean, my gosh. The difference between people who have written a book and not written a book is the people that have written a book actually just wrote it. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like halfway there. I gotta be honest with you. Of those 80,000 words, I have repurposed and like used 3,000. Yeah, it sucks. it does suck, but it doesn't suck because it taught me one incredible lesson. Every time I'm writing, Robert, you are writing things knowing they will be thrown away. And so I make this podcast by recognizing that the effort it takes to get somewhere that I want to go means I will have gone things, gone paragraphs, gone stories, gone ideas, gone concepts that I don't like. It's not that they don't work in the story. It's not like I think they will work in the future. I actually don't like it. It's not up to my standards. I don't want anyone to read it. I'm serious. It sucks. So how do I do this podcast? I understand, and I'm actually gonna let me actually just go into the Google. Let me go into the Google. Let me go into the Google. I want to share my screen. Hopefully there's nothing Jeffrey Toobin E on it. When I open Google Docs to start a podcast, I'm going to open, like, I'm going to write spare text which is to say, Robert, everything about this will suck. And so, like I say, one day soon, this podcast will not be called The Weekend in YouTube Church. Today is not that day. Sunday was not that day either. It is the Lord's Day, which means the Lord has fired up the servers. And the good news is just a 30-second ad away. Yeah, I think that's a pretty shitty league. And so I'm glad that I think that this episode is called Faith is the Capri Sun and the Lunchable of life. I think that's what this kind of came up with. And I was just bitching about people who were pissing me off of the summer because I was obviously not a really happy guy in the summer. This is not formatted. This is copy and pasting poorly. This makes no sense. But the truth is, this is a spare text, so I don't even mind. A relaxed hour episode, I never even did that. Like, that was not a concept. I was like, oh, it's just for me. It's just, I just have to do this. But at the same time, once I get like, once I've gotten all the spare text out, like how much, I wonder, I see the thing is I'm not really supposed to edit on the next one because I'm going to open it like a new tab and it'll just be the title in caps, and that's how I'll know the difference. This is 2,500 words. Oh, that's not even like that much. I liked that episode though. So that means I got it together because the thing I just read to you, we can agree it sucks. What am I working on now? And I'm excited about it because I think this actually illustrates 2 points. This podcast has been working generally under a theme lately where I'm going through something called the 5 hindrances taught by many Western Buddhist teachers. And so I've been going through the 5 hindrances one episode at a time. Maybe they make sense. If you didn't know that, if you go through, the 5 hindrances are sensual desire, anger, envy, laziness, doubt, worry. That's 6. Combine the anger and the envy. Point is, I'm like, okay, if I was really going to stick to that schedule, you don't need to do this. I can go back. No, I can discuss. If I was going to stick to that schedule, that means, oh, I need to write about worry right now. And so I wrote a spare text about worry, but the truth is, the issue with worry is that you don't keep worrying about it. And that's why it's actually kind of hard. The things you worry about clearly don't kill you, and you just replace them with the new worries. And so writing about worry broadly is not that interesting, and worry about specific things that I worry about is hard because they just get swapped out. The point is, I didn't really follow my I've been thinking about this for 5 days thing to do. So it just really wasn't effective. So I had to just be honest and just say, Robert, what are you thinking about? And what I'm thinking about is my boy, Joe Beningo, retiring after 25 years on WFAN. So it's like, man, I got to follow my own advice and do that, which is cool because I'm going to care about him. And this was really fun to do. And I woke up last Saturday at 6 a.m. I knew Manchester United was going to play at 7:30 a.m. And I just sat kind of using my bed as the desk on my laptop, and I just cranked it out. And I think I got like a pretty good space. Now, this is something that's actually kind of interesting that I want to share, because this is kind of not a writing secret, but it's like, I guess it's a conventional writing practice that I'm using. These episodes are 30 minutes. Writing 30 minutes of essays, or an essay that's 30 minutes long, that's like 3,500 words. That's a real thing. Which is possible. You just have to do it, but that's not, like, to me, a good essay should be like 900 words. Just get to the idea. It's like, it's nonfiction. Just get to the point. But obviously, there's this very famous book that writing people have been teaching you your whole life, Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, which is some instructions on writing in life. And what is the most useful thing in this book? Anne Lamott is like a really readable writer, and so stylistically, it's probably worth just kind of catching her tone. But the best thing, and I use that game changes this book, is something she calls short assignments. The first useful concept is the idea of short assignments. I totally agree. Often when you sit down to write, what you have in mind is an autobiographical novel about your childhood or a play about the immigrant experience, whatever. This is trying to scale a glacier. Totally agree. Like writing a half-hour podcast. It's hard to get your footing and your fingertips get all red and frozen and torn up. Then your mental illnesses arrive at the desk, like your sickest, most secretive relative. Okay. I don't remember reading that. And they pull up chairs and the point is, what do I do at this point when the relatives are being really annoying? I try to breathe. I sit there. And I finally noticed the 1-inch picture frame that I put on my desk to remind me of short assignments. Okay. I can explain this by name, even though I'm really grateful to her. A short assignment is basically my way of understanding, Robert, you're not writing one 30-minute thing. You're writing 6 5-minute things. Whoa, what do I mean? Whoa. Share screen. We go to videotape. That's Warner Wolf. People don't understand that energy, but it's okay. Okay, so I can explain this. So I've written all that about Joe Beningo in my spare text. So now I'm ready to say, Robert, what were the short assignments of that? And then I piece it together. This is short assignment 1. After 25 years on sports radio, Joe Beningo is retiring. Okay, this is short assignment 2. I was given a tiny radio when I was a kid by a man named Joe Scroggins in Washington State, like 20 years ago. Okay, I'm going to talk about that. Okay, what is short assignment 3? Me in the 5th grade doing something I was doing in 5th grade. Okay, fun. Short assignment 4, the people who listen to sports radio. Okay, short assignment 5, why I love New York City radio. Short assignment 6, why I love sports. That's it. I have looked and parsed through the short assignment piece. The spare text part of the podcast, which is just the word dump, and I pieced it together and something I'm literally just calling out. Short assignments. What were the short assignments? And from there, I'm really writing 6 essays that will be strung together in one 34-word package. That's how I make the podcast New Problems. From a writing standpoint. And maybe I'll make an episode where I get to the technical part of what I do. But that's the writing. That's the storytelling piece to it. And if I had to summarize, it's really simple. Write things that you know you're going to waste. You're going to waste. It's not a waste. And you know it's not a waste. It's just the discipline of giving yourself volume to cut down from. It's giving yourself a quantity of words, ideas, images, stories, and thinking, what do I actually care about? What didn't I like? Trusting your process more than you're trusting your sense of your own talent and how good you are at this. Don't worry about that. The process will always win. The amount of drafts that 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish, that's not a one-take book. It's actually getting down to what is actually making the story successful. That's number 1. 2, get it all out and remember short assignments. Because short assignments are the only way to get to the volume of good quality that you want and can refine your focus to get the coherent, in-depth narrative that your podcast or story or book wants. So thank you for watching this video. I hope that's helpful. If you have a storytelling podcast and you do this a lot better than me, please link me to your video and I will watch it. This is fun. And I hope this microphone worked. Yeah.